What's up? My name is Armando Zavala Jr. I am 24 years old and welcome to my first YouTube upload. This is something that I've been recommended in the past, but I just felt like back then I was not ready. I kind of thought, you know what, YouTube really isn't gonna go anywhere anyways, but clearly that has been such a huge understatement and it has been completely wrong, as we've had so many YouTube stars surface to the top, and now it's my turn. So before I do continue, I just want to say that I hope you are doing well, and I hope you have been staying safe, and I hope that you and your family and loved ones are also doing okay. I know these have been very difficult times, and I don't think any of us really expected all these transitions to occur, but I just want to remind you that this is something that's definitely not happening just to you. It's nothing personal that the universe wanted to just be like, let me hit him with this experience and just make his life horrible or their life horrible. No, this is something we're all experiencing collectively at the same time. So with that should provide some comfort to you, knowing that you're not the only one. As you may have seen by the title, today, friends, I'm gonna talk about what I learned during COVID. Why am I doing this? Because next time I see COVID out in the streets, I'm gonna clock her. Okay, so one of the things I've learned during this time is the importance of self-compassion. So about 2 years ago, I went through a really tough patch in my life. I was in a depression. I was very unhappy. And then I transferred to the University of California, Santa Barbara. Woo! I transferred into UCSB, and there were just so many obstacles that also came with it. I'm like, what the hell? It was not supposed to be this hard. But then again, as a first generation student, having immigrant parents, I just didn't have, and I know many of us didn't have that luxury to have our parents guide us through the experience, or even just share our personal experience and I'll have them understand what we're actually going through. So I made some bad decisions within, the early stages of my transition, and I was just fed up. I was like, you know what, like I need to pick myself up and achieve all the goals that I have set for myself. So towards the end of my first year is when I really came to my own senses, and I'm like, Armando, pick yourself up. Like, no one's gonna accomplish these things for you. It's only you that's gonna do them. So I started, tapping into the deepest parts of myself, and somehow managed to, involve myself within so many different experiences that I in the past would have never considered, because as a brown boy from an urban community, you just feel like you don't belong within the spaces, but we hear these narratives of the importance of occupying the spaces to make, to pave the way and show others that they can do it as well. So for the first time, I felt like I had control of my life. I felt like I, had things lined up left and right, and I'm like, wow, Armando, I'm really proud of you. You've definitely came a long way. And then what happened? COVID wanted to just come up, wig snatch me and take everything right under my feet, and I was just like, I know that's an exaggeration, but really, like, at some point you kind of have to laugh, because it's like, is this real? Like, is this really going on? Like, is this really happening to me? Which is, again, what I felt at the moment, was like, is this really happening to me? Like, I did my very best. Like, how is this being taken away from me? But above all, I think one thing that was reaffirmed to me, which I learned in the past, but somehow I always forget once I'm going through challenging times, is that we have control over nothing or no one in our lives. Want me to say it again? Okay. We have control over nothing or no one in our lives besides ourselves. During these times, I feel like I've learned how much these accomplishments don't really mean much. Yes, they are gratifying because these are goals that we set for ourselves, but I also believe that nurturing to the deepest parts of ourselves is also important. And for me, one thing that I've learned now, especially to have always, like, as a tool within my tool belt, is just to be self-compassionate to myself. Like, clearly I went through a bad stage and I worked so hard to climb up, and yes, the first time it was my fault for not making the best decisions, but I rose above it. and I was persevering so much and climbing so much, and then this time something that was out of my control just came in and took everything away. You may ask, like, what's self-compassion? I think self-compassion really is a universal antidote. Self-compassion may be whatever you're struggling with, whether it's your health, you know, your love life, your education, what you do in your downtime, just telling yourself, hey, like, it's okay. You've done a lot so much already. Like, and that's what I've kind of learned from this experience, is to recognize the accomplishments we do have, because I feel like a lot of times within our society, we want to have more, you know, and maybe it's from that consumerist side of us that wants more achievements, more friends, more experiences, more adventure, more accomplishments, you know, the whole thing. And it's great, don't get me wrong, but at some point we have to recognize what's real. In the past, you've had way worse obstacles, you know, to overcome, and what happened in the end, it always worked out. So please take this time to even pause the video and maybe reflect upon your life and be like, what am I stressing about? What's the worry in the back of my head? And provide some self-compassion. The second thing I learned was how disenchanting Western society is. So I took this one course that was called Social Theories, and there was this one sociology that described Western society, and which is our society and our capitalist economy, as something that's very disenchanting and disappointing. And he referred to it as the inescapable iron cage. When I read this, I'm like, oh my gosh, I see it. We are in an iron cage. We're within this system, this matrix that has us all enslaved and working for the rest of our lives. For us, like as college students, many of us had to go back home because it would have been remote classes. So it would have been like, stay at the apartments, you know, pay this much amount for rent, while just to sit there and take online courses, knowing that I could do that at home for free. So I moved back home. My work also went remote. I was also doing research that went remote. And I was pretty much doing everything that I would do on campus, you know, going from this place to this place to this place, biking here, taking the bus there, all within my room. That made me feel so confined in the very beginning, and I went a little bit nuts because I'm like, I just want to break past all of it, but clearly you can't. To me, I didn't really understand how, you know, this pandemic is surfaced and somehow there's no time to really acknowledge or process what's going on. At least for me, as a very highly sensitive person, I was like, are we just supposed to act like everything's fine? Like, are we just supposed to, you know, follow the mundane routine and continue with our lives? Like, it just didn't make sense to me. And on top of that, like at work especially, because I worked at the financial aid office, we've had so many angry parents and angry students, and I had people yelling at me, being angry with me, and I'm thinking like, as I'm answering phones, I'm like, hi, welcome to the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships, what's going on? Then they're like going off on you and you can't say nothing. In my head, I'm like, this is so, like, the whole bureaucracy is just a bit, because the people with power are the ones that obviously control everything. So we're just too low on the totem pole, as my former advisor would always say. And it's just disappointing. It's like, okay, cool. Like, I'm just supposed to go with the flow, which is, you know, it definitely taught us, I'm sure, a lot of life lessons that we can really overcome anything. At this point, I realize that I can overcome anything. Any adversity that comes in my path, I will overcome it. This was something that I never imagined would have happened, but I came through and I accomplished a lot. So I'm not too mad. During these times, I've learned to focus more on me, you know, and prioritize all that energy and perseverance on myself. You know, something that I've been trying to do during these times is definitely work out more, and that's actually something I have been doing since the very beginning. And sometimes I think like, oh, like it's been so boring, but I've been going to the beach and working out each day. Like, that's not a boring life. But again, as a, you know, young adult with first world problems, sometimes we forget to appreciate what we truly have, you know. And for me, I loved that I was able to be back home and work out with my sister, someone who I have not seen for 2 years because I was away for school, being close with my parents once again, and just being reunited with my family, my dog, and just do a bunch of things that are so wholesome and feed the soul, you know. So the last thing I learned was to stay present in the moment. Just like myself, I got caught up in the whole, system of achieving and persevering, which is again great, but we forget how we lose ourselves and we lose our human essence through that process. One thing though that I feel like I've learned while being back home is that I also carry a lot of past trauma. And I know for a fact, and if you say no, you're lying. You are lying. I know being in quarantine, we've all had some thoughts we had to confront and sit with that just made us uneasy. But tying it back to what I was originally saying is that I've had to confront a lot of thoughts, and something that I didn't realize is that growing up, as a closeted, reclusive individual that did anything in his power to preserve his secret, which was obviously a dumb game. And I've never realized how I still carried some habits, some tendencies that helped me survive and cope then, but they're just not necessary now. For me, one thing I try to do is just recognize the thought paradigms that continue to perpetuate any type of negative perceptions of yourself. A lot of times for me, if I think like, oh, you're not cute, like you just look it's just not it, I'm being hard on myself. And then I honestly have to hit myself in the hand and be like, hey, don't do that. Don't self-talk to yourself. Don't talk to yourself so negatively. And I think that's, again, the importance of self-compassion. And I think also what I've learned is that through these events that I experienced, I somehow became so fearful and so, my spontaneity level just decreased. And I'm thinking to myself, what happened to me? What happened to that flamboyant, excited, courageous young man that I remember? But obviously experiences do shape your reality. But to me, what I've learned or have taken this time to do now is to bring that person out of me again, bring it out and remind myself of who I am and the values that I do carry and the strengths that I do possess. And I know you definitely carry a lot, because I could just tell by the way you're looking at me that you just look like that. I'm gonna keep it real. You do look like that, and you look good, and we're not mad at it, So there you go, guys. That is my first video to you all. So I hope you guys were able to take away the importance of self-compassion, being kind to yourself, knowing that you have control over nothing or no one in your life besides yourself. Also know that we don't have much control about what's going on in society, so maybe take some steps to just become more into yourself, check in with yourself, tell yourself, hey, how are you really doing? Are you doing okay? What's stressing you? What are issues that are just not making you feel the best? And just restore that energy for you to be A1 and be litty and be how we want you to be, which is the best that you can be. And lastly, remember to stay present. Remember to be appreciative of what you do have, even if it's just something that's so small. Like for me, something I hate to admit that I do love is my Nintendo Switch. I love this bad boy, and I've been playing with my niece and nephew, Fortnite. I also got into Fortnite. I don't want to talk about it. So if you made it to the end of this video, I want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Again, this is something that I'm putting my time, heart, and energy into, and I hope that you enjoyed it and it made you feel a little bit more uplifted, a little bit more warm inside, because really that's all I am really good at, so I'm hoping that it translated the same way as it was intended. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, and I can't believe I'm saying that because that's what YouTubers say, but please do so. And also make sure to hit that notification bell so you're notified when I, Armando, post my next video. Please also make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Bye. See you later. Bye. I just did that, and I think my light also went down. Oh, fuck. Can you guys tell? Oh yeah, it's okay. We're good. Bye guys. Talk to you guys soon.